On March 14, 1962, Cardinal Francis Spellman used this shovel to break ground for a new museum on the Regis College campus dedicated to philately and named in his honor. Over 60 years later, we're still going strong. Welcome to the Spellman Spotlight for March 2025. One of our long-term goals was recently realized with the launch of the Spellman Museum's first online store. This new retail outlet dovetails with our on-site location. On it, you can order merchandise, buy event tickets, and join or renew your membership. The store is intended to be a one-stop shop where guests can find collecting supplies, books, puzzles, souvenirs, and special deals on surplus stamps, covers, albums, and other ephemera. This month, we are offering 50% off of all first day covers and first day cover supplies. Last month, Museum Board Chairman and Boston 2026 World Stamp Expo President Yamil Khoury was on the program to talk about both organizations. The Spellman is pleased to be working with Boston 2026 and is seeking donations of U.S. stamps off paper for use at the show. The goal is to collect 3 million stamps, which will be used at the adult beginners and kids table to encourage showgoers to start or add to their own collections. Please note that we are only collecting off-paper stamps for this effort. If you have stamps to donate, then you can mail them to the museum at the address below. The show takes place the last week of May in 2026. The museum is also pleased to announce receipt of a $500 programming grant from the Weston Cultural Council. This grant will help underwrite the museum's community outreach, covering appearance fees for multiple events throughout the year. The museum's commitment to engaging lectures, events, and activities remains strong, thanks to investments like that from the Council and from other organizations.
I'm Heidi Price with this month's artifact, the postmark. A postmark is an imprint on an envelope that shows the date, time, and location of mailing. Postmarks are usually applied in black ink on the address side of an envelope, a postcard, or a parcel. Now, these imprints show the name of the USPS office that accepted the custody of the mail, along with the state, the zip code, and the date. The very first postmark, called the Bishop mark, was introduced by English Postmaster General Henry Bishop in 1661 and showed the day and month of mailing in order to prevent the delay of the mail by carriers. In England in the 17th century, several postmarks were created for use with the London Penny Post, which was a postal system that delivered mail items just within the City of London. The postmarks bore the initial of the particular post office or handling house it was sent from, along with a separate timestamp. Postage was prepaid, and the postmark was applied to the mail item by means of an ink hand stamp. Some historians actually consider these postmarks to be the world's first postage stamps. And around that same time here in the US, the Pony Express used a variety of different postmarks on the mail it carried across the western United States. You may ask, at what point in the process does a piece get canceled? Mail is postmarked when it's dropped off at a post office before the last pickup time, and when it's deposited in a collection box before the last pickup time. Here's a fun note. Postmarks can be important in bill paying, including for mailing Internal Revenue Service communications and payments, which are considered timely if postmarked by the due date. You may know people who have rushed to their local post office on April 15th Eve to be sure the payment is counted as on time to avoid penalties. Interestingly, there are some methods of postage that are not canceled. Metered postage doesn't get canceled. This postage is printed directly on an envelope or a label by a postage machine licensed by the USPS. Pre-canceled postage is that sold through a private vendor such as Stamps.com. These don't get canceled. And pre-sorted mail with a postage permit does not get canceled. As you might expect, there are many clubs and collectors devoted to postmarks. Do you have some memorable postmarks to share? Stop by the Spellman. We would love to see them.
Today I am joined by the Spellman Museum's educator, Siobhan Mahaney. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, Brian. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So you've been affiliated with the museum for a long time, and I'm curious, how did you first get involved, and what are you doing with the museum today?
Amazingly, my husband was an attorney, and he had an estate, and this woman had collected stamps, lots and lots of stamps, boxes and boxes of stamps, and he didn't know what to do with them. And so he said, I wonder what I should do. And I said, well, you know, there's a stamp museum over in Weston, right? I said, you could probably bring them there and they'll tell you what they're worth. So as it turns out, they really weren't worth anything because they were just all used stamps. But he said, hey, you're a teacher. You can find something to do with these, right? And I said, absolutely. And so for many years after that, I used them in my classroom, and I started a stamp club at my school. And then over time, I got involved as a volunteer at the museum. I was helping with events. Then I was invited to be on the board.
Well, you do a great job with our educational programming, and it really runs the gamut between, from youth educational activities up through visiting senior centers. Can you describe a little bit more some of the museum's educational outreach?
Absolutely. We offer field trips for school groups, both homeschool groups, private schools, public schools, and they are welcome to come to the museum, or I could bring a program to their classroom. So there are a variety of topics that we can bring programs to schools, and from which teachers can choose. It's always a lot of fun to have kids at the museum, and they get so excited about stamps. In the past, some teachers have said to me, but will they really like stamps? And I said, oh, just give them a minute. Once they get their hands on them, they can't get enough of it. So we do offer those programs. I run a stamp club for children in grades 1 to 6, and it meets once a month from September to June. And we're always looking for new members, so if anyone else would like to come, that's great. The museum also offers a youth membership, which is very popular. The children get a free 1-year membership to the museum, so they get free admission. But the best part is, every month they get mailed a packet of stamps. And I hear from kids all the time how excited they are every month when those come in. Because of course today, not many people get mail anymore. You know, kids get maybe a card for their birthday or something like that, but it's fun to know every month they'll be getting some stamps.
Well, it's surprising that kids are still so engaged with stamps and with postal history, given that they have not typically grown up with it the way that our generation did. And to be able to have that impact in the local community is just fantastic.
Yes, and it's lots of fun. We also offer a variety of family days throughout the year. So typically October, February for Valentine's Day that we just did, in December, of course, for our annual holiday event, and those are well attended by families, and it's the children have a chance to do some crafts and write letters to Santa in December or make Valentines in February. We've also had some great programs that have come in, Joys of Nature. We had Birds of Prey to go along with our October event, so Halloween inspired.
It's great to hear kids in the gallery. I mean, I'm there when these programs are taking place, and just to have the museum loud and rambunctious might not be the right term, but to have that type of energy and vibrance in the museum is really just a fantastic thing to see and to hear, and that's a big credit to our educational program, the outreach, the activities that you do. Do you have a favorite moment or an accomplishment for which you're especially proud over the years you've been involved?
I think having the programs up and running again, I feel really happy about that, because my children and many of my students over the years enjoyed our field trips to the museum, and they enjoyed seeing things that they had created that were displayed in the children's room, that kind of thing. So I'm just really happy to have the programs up and running again, and I'd love to see more teachers bring their children in for programs at the museum or to go to them.
Are there any other ways that residents can take part in the museum's activities or otherwise get involved? Any parting words of advice?
Well, if they'd like to be involved and help with some of our family events, we would love that. And I think that they could also spread the word to their children's teachers or their school administrators that our programs are up and running again and that we'd love to have them visit the museum.
Great, great. And I know we'll have some contact information for you on the screen here during the program.
Great.
So there'll be plenty of opportunity for the public to get in touch with you and get involved at the museum. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. That's it for March. We're looking forward to the warmer weather that April brings. See you soon.